Hello and welcome to the 80sist, the podcast that uses your votes to determine the most totally 80s song ever to blare from the muddy speakers of a Boardman, Ohio Pizza Hut jukebox in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm Keith Marsteller, and joining me from Seattle, Washington, it's the creator of the 80sist, everybody. It's my longtime friend. I'm proud to call him my co-host. His name is Joe Walk. Hey, Joe.
Hey, Keith.
Oh, it's another one of these. Are you all right? Are you all right, man?
No, I'm fine. I'm just I guess I'm a little down.
Oh, wow. What's going on, man?
Yeah, it's just kind of everything. It's family stuff and the state of the world, and it's the holiday season, so that always brings up stuff.
Yeah, I get it. It's a lot. I find, and I don't know if this is true for you, but I find that having a good, solid, sad song to
wallow to?
Yes, to wallow to. I think that makes everything better.
Dude, I mean, you do not seem like the type of person to wallow.
What? Dude, I'm fucking human, right? I mean, I wallow.
Really?
Of course, man. I mean, look, I may seem like a super positive, up kind of person, but I get down like everyone else. And when I do, I have a go-to song that it kind of sets the mood.
Oh my God, what song do you use?
Well, I describe it to you when I could play it for you.
Okay.
Huh?
Oh, yeah, no, that tracks.
You feel it?
Oh, Lord.
Woo. Well, everybody, there you go.
Opening bit done.
Check it off the list. Great job, Joe. All right.
Put it behind us now.
Oh, shit. Well, welcome back to the 80sist, everybody.
Welcome back.
That's, by the way, proper attribution. That is Yakety Sax by
the late, great Boots Riley.
There you go.
No.
Boots Randolph.
Randolph. Boots Riley is a completely different guy.
Okay. But yeah, also known as that Benny Hill theme song. You guys might remember that one. So, woo. Well, anyway, welcome back. Today in our 33rd show, we're going to discuss more than Yakety Sax. We're going to get to the fourth matchup of the Foreigners region. And this matchup has got a lot of listeners pissed off, Joe, because these are two songs that a lot of people feel could be in a regional final together.
Yep.
And yet, here they are in the first round. And those songs are 4 seed, Never Tear Us Apart by In Excess, against 13 seed, Forever Young. And that's, of course, by Alphaville. So we're going to get right down to it because I think this one might take us a minute. So we're going to get right to the tale of the tape. Bye.
2 songs enter. 1 song leaves.
It's the tale of the tape. He's out.
All right, number 4 seed, Never Tear Us Apart, is from the album Kick by Australian rock band In Excess. It was released as a single in the U.S. in June of 1988. It reached number 7 on the Billboard Hot 100. Just 7.
Yeah.
Just 7. It was ranked at number 282 on Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest songs of all time in 2021.
Wow. Okay. Well, that's impressive. Let's see how our contender here, our challenger, measures up. And number 13 seed, Forever Young, is from the album Forever Young by German synth pop band Alphaville.
No, that's right.
Anyway, it was released as a single in the U.S., and the most specific time I could get for it was 1988. So it reached only number 65 on the Billboard Hot 100. So not a giant smash by commercial standards. Now, the song has an interesting history in that it was released in Europe back in 1984, which is why I think the video looks so much more dated. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But it wasn't successful in the U.S. on that first release, and hence this re-release happened in 1988.
Hence.
Which is the one that, and the one that we are aware of, I believe.
Right.
So that's what we're dealing with here. 2 songs enter, 1 song leave, I believe, as they say. And now we're gonna play.
The old folk saying goes.
The old folk saying. Speaking of folk sayings, before I play these songs, have you ever heard one of Marsha's weird cousins, who I hope doesn't listen to the show, once said to us, it's like that old saying, you got a cat in your wall? And I was like, what? And I was like, wait, you got a cat in your wall is an old saying? Like, what is it? Like, what does the saying mean? And she's like, well, it means you've got a cat in your wall. And I was like, well, that's not a saying. That's a statement. If you actually have a fucking cat in your wall, then that's a statement of fact that there's a living mammal walking around in your walls.
It sounds like a contractor said that to her, and she just was struck by it.
It sounds like something like Cliff Clavin would say. It sounds like you got a cat in your wall or something. Yeah, something like that. Anyway.
Yep.
So you've never heard that said before, right?
No, that's because it's not a saying.
It's not a saying. This lady lived in Denver at the time, and I thought, wow, is that a regionalism? And I went on a quest and asked people from all around this great land of ours if they had ever heard it. I never got around to asking you, though, and you've lived in both coasts now, so...
I have.
Never heard that. All right, anyway.
No.
People are dying to hear these songs, so let's get right to Never Tear Us Apart, and that is by INXS.
Don't ask me what you know is true. Don't have to tell you I love your precious heart. I was standing, you were there. 2 worlds collided, and they could never tear us apart. We could live for 1,000 years, but if I hurt you, I make wine from your tears. I told you that we could fly, 'cause we all have wings, but some of us don't know why. I was standing, you were there. 2 worlds collided, and they could never, ever tear us apart.
All right, we'll stop it there, because that's more than half the song, so you're going to have to be satisfied with that. Although I would love to play the whole thing, honestly.
Yeah, no, let's...
All right, here's Forever Young, though. And that one's got a long intro as well.
Let's dance in style, let's dance for a while. Heaven can wait, we're only watching the skies. Hoping for the best, but expecting the worst. Are you gonna drop the bomb or not? Let us die young or let us live forever. We don't have the power, but we never say never. Sitting in a sandpit, life is a short trip. The music's for the sad man. Can you imagine when this race is won? Turn our golden faces into the sun. Praising our leaders, we're getting in tune. The music's played by the madman. Forever young, I want to be forever young. Do you really want to live forever? Forever, forever, forever young. I want to be forever young. Do you really want to live forever?
Wow. Dang. All right. Well, there's those two songs.
All right.
Back to back. You got to hear them. And now we'll find out what they are doing here.
Okay.
Joe, did you think the assignment was 1880s?
Keith, I have to seriously question your level of taste here. All right, so number 4, Never Tear Us Apart, comes in with 35 points. 6 of those points are from me. I had it rated number
top
6
10 track
on my
for
list. Yep. And Keith, you had it at number 29. So joint responsibility, but more me.
Yeah, for sure. Both of us in our top half, but you in your top 10. So, yeah. Well, Forever Young comes in with, coincidentally, 88 points, because that's the year it was released. And it is 65. This is one of those ones that kind of escaped your notice because of its lack of charting, right?
That's it.
And so you gave it
It's
60.
like the old saying, if it doesn't chart, it doesn't fart.
That's right.
You know, the old folk saying.
Yeah, it's like an old folk saying, man. And then another coincidence is that you gave it 65 points, which is where it made it on the Hot 100, 65.
What?
And then I
Numerology's real.
I gave this 23 points. So
Okay.
that added up to those 88. So this one is 100% my responsibility, but that does not mean that you don't care for the song. So we're going to find that out right now. How do you feel about your number 6 selection, Never Tear Us Apart?
Well, I love that song. There are a number of songs in the world that when I play them, I automatically play them again right afterward.
Yeah.
Like, because I can't listen to it just once. And this is one of those songs. How do you feel about it?
I fucking love Never Tear Us Apart and In Excess in general. But this is one of my favorite In Excess tracks and absolutely upper echelon in my list of all-time favorites. Yeah, great.
What about
tune.
Forever Young? How do you feel about that?
Well, the problem is that I feel the same about that song. Now, I don't know any more about Alphaville, but this one song fucking rules. I absolutely love it. How do you feel about it?
Well, this is one that I didn't know well coming in. The Forever Young that I knew, and that was my class song.
Oh shit!
Was the Rod Stewart version, because that's where we were. But having listened to this song a whole bunch since we came up with a playlist, this song is so fucking good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Here is the garbage song that became. Well, that might be a little harsh.
Garbage is a little harsh.
This, yeah. But compared to this, I don't like this Rod Stewart version.
I mean, it's Rod Stewart. It is what it is.
Yeah. So that's the song that was your class song.
Yes.
And so So this song, had you seen it listed, you would not necessarily have tracked it because it just wasn't on your radar, basically.
That's right.
Okay. And I think I know this one simply because of the folks I was hanging out with at college. You were back in Berlin Center.
That's right. Listening to Rod Stewart, apparently.
Listening to Rod Stewart, and I had that 1 year difference that got me. But anyway, let's talk about... so we got 2 songs that both of us really, really like, right? And
That's right.
Let's talk about Never Tear Us Apart, and we're going to start off with In Excess.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a bunch of... In Excess is a possible legend bracket type band for me.
Yeah.
Don't Change.
Don't change me up. Don't change a thing for me.
Like, that's a great song. That's from 82, I believe. And then, like, Listen Like Thieves. What You Need. You know, you remember this one. Oh, yeah. Hit me with that sax. Yes. So good. And then from this album, there were a ton of hits.
Oh, my God.
But
packed with them.
But this one is another one. I Need You Tonight.
Tonight, 'cause I'm not sleeping. I'm lonely. Can't take it all.
And then I'm gonna
and give me a moment.
I've got to let you know.
I've got to let you know. You one of my kind.
Anyway, and then, geez, I mean, dude, this exercise could go on all day. The next album, X, Disappear. So, ton of hits. Actually, my favorite In Excess song came off of an album called Welcome to Wherever You Are. It's called Beautiful Girl. Don't know if you know this song.
Beautiful girl.
Anyway, so for those of you who are not familiar, they had like 6 or 7 giant albums, but Kick and X were massive hits.
Huge.
I owned Listen Like Thieves, Kick, and X, actually, all 3 of those. Did you ever own an In Excess?
Oh, I played the shit out of Kick, man.
Yeah. So that's what we're dealing with when we talk about In Excess. We're talking about massive talent in Michael Hutchence and Andrew Ferris, those guys. And, unfortunately, we lost Michael Hutchence way too soon. But this particular song, it was your number 6. So I wanted to let you have the first crack at things to say about it because it's a top 10 track for you, bro.
It is. Again, this is just one of my absolute favorite songs of the 80s. And this album, I mean, like, you go on the track list for this album, and there's like maybe 1 or 2 songs that you're like, but everything else on this album,
the track list for this album,
amazing.
Guns in the Sky, New Sensation, Devil Inside, with that Need You Tonight, which we just kind of went over, Mediate, The Loved One, Wildlife, Never Tear Us Apart is track 8. Track 9 is one of my favorites, Mystify. 10, one of my favorites on here, Kick It, the title track, Kick. Calling All Nations is on there. Anyway, and then it finishes off with Tiny Daggers. So, I mean, that is an album that you listen to without ever needing to press skip.
Yeah, definitely. There's not one like massive dud on there. There's just like one or two that you don't love as much.
Right.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
So something that I something I read when doing my research today, I was like, what the fuck? Is that this song is written in the style of a modern Viennese waltz. It's like waltz tempo, and I'm like, wait a minute, is it?
Well, that's something you would know about because, theater background and dancing is involved in theater.
I have had to waltz. I have had to waltz on stage before, and yeah.
Is it like a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or is it a 4
and you
bass?
can hear that, right? When you 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. There it is.
Yeah.
Although that's going to sound really out of sync.
Right, I'll do it.
How it always happens.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Yeah, now because Joe has a slight lag based on us.
Yeah. So I apologize to listeners who are like, what the fuck?
Joe has no rhythm.
Well, I mean, that's true.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So a waltz, I would have never kind of equated this with that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either, but it's true.
Yeah.
Other thing is that this kills. So Michael Hutchins died. At his funeral. The other members of NXS and his brother, his younger brother Rhett, carried his coffin down the aisle to this song.
Oh man, that is just gut wrenching. Like
what you know is true.
Yeah.
Like to be carrying the singer and author of a song down. Yeah.
That would be rough.
I mean, and the song is already. I mean, one of the things I was going to talk about is the gravitas of it, like and like the drama of it all, right? And what's more has more gravitas and more drama than a person's funeral? I mean, that's wow.
I mean, think about the line. I'd make wine from your tears. Oh my God.
Precious heart.
Oh wow.
I wine from your tears. I told you.
Yeah.
That we could fly. 'Cause we all have wings.
Yeah, man.
But some of us don't know why.
Anyway,
it's a top 5 wallowing song. It just is.
It's really good. So one of the things I love about it is, and I had to make sure because in the video they have fake violinists, but it is a synth opening, and that thing that kind of underpins the entire. Well, that's yakety sax. But
that's your wallow song.
This opening, like, it just sets the mood instantly. It like, and you need like 2 notes, and you know what you're listening to.
Yeah.
Don't ask
and
me.
So it's got like a violin and then like an underlying cello synth.
Don't have to tell you.
Which is kind of cool. But. And his vocals are just, on pretty much every song, have just like an impossible coolness to them.
Yeah.
You know, there's just something otherworldly about this guy's voice. I'm not sure how to describe it. He's not like Steve Perry-esque or anything, like with his range or what. But there's just the guy knows how to sing a song, man. He absolutely crushes.
Yeah. He knows how to phrase a song, and just he's pretty amazing.
And there's like a soulfulness to him that you can't teach,
Absolutely. One of my absolute favorite moments is, and they do this a couple times, but I think the first one is at 49 seconds.
Okay, let me grab a little needle drop here, and you want just before it, right?
I want just before it. Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Oh, that pause.
The pause is so dramatic. And then there's
a fucking great pause, man.
There's another one at 1:45 also, a minute later.
It just makes that little guitar part so cool.
Yeah, and like they actually wait for the resonance of that little hi-hat cymbal to fade out before it, like you hear it, like right after the shimmer of it ends, and then it re-kicks in. So
yeah.
very cool. Well, while we're out here at like the 1:45 ish, right after that, if we leave this go, there's this kind of driving thing, and then the sax solo. Oh my God, this is so 80s, dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's soulful. Like, I'm not mocking this sax solo. I like it.
No, this is not Tim Capello.
Right. And then you got the call and response part that's only in this section, so I'm going to play a little of it. Anyway, so that's just a really great taste of what that goes to. Obviously, we'll have the whole song posted for you in the form of the music video, which... Did you watch the music video?
Of course I watched the music video. So the music video has a slightly different opening. It's a little bit extended.
Yeah, it does.
And then at about 50 seconds, we're kind of panning across this park, and about 50 seconds we come to a string trio who again aren't really playing, but it's synth, but whatever. And one of the guys, I think it's the first violinist they pan across, has one of the worst cases of hat hair I have ever seen. It's like, clearly he showed up to the video shoot wearing a hat, and they were like, no, take that off.
Take that off, and then no one from wardrobe or makeup came over to fix it. Yeah.
No, they did not care about his hair because they cared too much about Michael Hutchinson's hair.
Yeah, they loved his hair.
Michael Hutchinson's hair is amazing.
Yeah, it's...
And this whole video is basically him and his hair walking around Prague. They start off at this by a lake in a park, and then they're just hopping around different locations as Hutchins and the band walk around. There's not a story at all. It's just kind of atmosphere of Prague.
It's atmospheric. I watched a little video about the making of.
Nice.
It all started off because this photographer had like done some advance work. And he had some black and whites, and they were watching them as a slideshow, and just in the background, Never Tear Us Apart was playing, and they were like, wow, this fits perfectly, like watching this slideshow with this, like the mood of this place and whatever. And so they were like, let's just go shoot there and do this, like go to these places. And so it's a pretty simple video. There's not a story. There's not really a performance.
No.
It's Hutchins walking around. Half the time his face is not looking at the camera, so he doesn't have to do a lot of lip sync.
That's true.
You know, there's some, but it's an interesting... It's not my favorite video of all time, but I also don't I don't think they didn't like embarrass themselves like some of the other folks we're going to talk about.
No, but I mean, it just kind of it sets a mood. It goes along with the mood of the song. There's a hint of this kind of romantic longing because there's a woman who, and I don't know, was she in the band?
I don't believe so. I don't know who the woman was. Yeah.
So she pops up periodically, and it's not like there's not like a plot where he's pursuing her or anything, or they're but
I mean, she's there. He was standing. She was there.
That's it.
Two worlds collided, etc.
That's right.
So yeah, not a lot to talk about with the video, but it's worth watching a little bit just to get the vibe of it. You know, I would say,
and just to again celebrate that amazing hair.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty incredible. So regarding the drama of this song, right? I mean, the title is dramatic, right? Never Tear Us Apart. Like, it comes right out, and the opening premise is drama. Then it starts, and you hear this dramatic music, and then there are these dramatic pauses, right? And then the lyrics are dramatic. And then you find out, which you may have read this, I'm sure you did, about what it's about, like who it was written about. Do you know? Did you come across that?
Yeah, it was his young love, or I saw one place that said childhood sweetheart. Another one was his girlfriend Michelle.
Yeah,
with whom he broke up at some point around.
They broke up, and then this song kind of came out of how he felt they were being torn in different directions. She was a young filmmaker. He was obviously a musician. And I don't know if he wrote this kind of in a kind of retconning that he wished that they would never tear them apart because they were already torn apart, but he felt terrible about it, right?
Right.
And then like one of the
Rewriting
saddest...
history.
Right, yeah. One of the saddest parts about this whole thing is that this Michelle was like the last person he spoke to before the end of his life. And so that adds more drama, more gravitas to this song. And so I think there's not any argument at all that it's an incredible song and that we both love it. But what makes it 80s to you? I mean, there's the synth, there's the presence of it at the time.
Yeah,
perhaps, but go ahead. The sax,
no,
right?
It's the synth, the sax, the drama, and the fact that experientially, I had a lot of contact with this song and this album. Yeah,
and as did I. Yeah, having the album, listening to it a ton, and this, is one of my top one or two tracks on this album for me. And, one of the top 2 or 3 INXS songs for me. We never did get the INXS tracks in from the Lost Boys, but they had 2 tracks on the Lost Boys soundtrack, but we opted to instead put this song in.
Right.
Because it's a better song. More 80s, I think, probably than those other ones.
And there are in the whole of side B, there are some songs for each of us that were like, no, that song's going in. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, yes.
And this was that for me.
This was one of those.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you have other things to say about this. I have one last thing, but I was going to let you.
I'm all good. What do you got?
All right. So for this matchup, because this matchup is absolutely destroying people. And so what I did is I made a couple of calls, Joe, and I got a couple of my close friends to make closing arguments on these 2 songs. Okay. And for this one, I brought in my good friend Jenny, who I met in 1986 at a youth leadership conference, of all things. But we've been friends a long time. And she is a very, very well known for being a Duran Duran fan, but I think INXS is right there for her as well.
Okay.
And anyway, here is what Jenny had to say about Never Tear Us Apart.
I remember the first time I heard INXS. It was about 6 a.m. on July 13th, 1985, and I was getting my Betamax tapes ready to record Live Aid on MTV. It hadn't started yet, and they were playing a band live from Australia in their version of Live Aid called Oz for Africa. I remember hearing What You Need and Don't Change, and I loved them immediately. After that, I sought out their songs, and I couldn't wait for their new album Kick to be released. And Never Tear Us Apart, one of their all-time best. That song was released the month I graduated from high school, and it forever links me to the 80s and the excitement I feel whenever I hear this music. Like when I was listening to one of my other 80s favorites, Duran Duran. I had tickets when they were playing at the Lakewood Civic Auditorium. For you Clevelanders, this is where Lakewood High School students and St. Ed students held their high school graduations. I had really great seats with my twin sister, and it was November 22nd, 1997. And that morning, I found out Michael Hutchence died. At the concert, Simon Le Bon dedicated their show to him. Michael had such a cool rocker vibe with the hair, the clothes, the energy, and his unique, powerful voice. It made us feel the drama of every song. Never Tear Us Apart is a power ballad that reminds us of our first love, our longest love, and the love of those we've lost. So, I love Forever Young too, guys. This region just might be my favorite yet. But in this matchup, my vote has to go to In Excess and Never Tear Us Apart. Thanks for doing this podcast, Keith and Joe. I love listening to the 80s-ist.
And they could never tear us apart.
There you go.
All
Solid
right.
argument.
So that is from Jenny on our message boards. Thank you, Jennifer, for doing that for us.
Thank you. Very, very well put.
I thought it was really, I thought it was well done. She was a little nervous about doing it, I'm like, look at what Joe and I do.
I'm sorry. She has a lot to live up to with our
oh my God.
stumbling
Can you
and,
be as good as us? I don't know.
Well, we are professionals.
If you're wondering if you can be as good as us, go back and listen to the open. Anyway, so Joe, let's move on to Forever Young. All right.
Yes, let's.
Now, Forever Young is by Alphaville, and I generally consider them to be a one-hit wonder. But Wikipedia said they had a couple of other hits. I just didn't know of them. One is called Big in Japan. And I don't know if it was actually big in Japan. But here is some of it. Ever heard this?
No, I read that Wikipedia entry, and so I was aware that there was a song called Big in Japan, but had not heard it.
Yeah, so Big in Japan, it's not like Sex Dwarf embarrassing or anything. I just never heard of it. And they had another one called Sounds Like a Melody. Since I played like 8 In Excess songs, I thought I'd at least give them a shot. And
that's real 80s.
Yeah, listen to the 80s-ness of this, right? Like, coming straight out. All right, I'm going to jump ahead to what I think is the chorus.
This could be like off the soundtrack of a Bart Connors movie.
Yes!
Head over heels!
Anyway, so there you go.
They were in a
Sounds like
helium
melody.
factory.
Now, the one thing is, Forever Young, as we alluded to earlier, came out in '84 in Europe, and there was a dance, a special dance version. And I have that for you here.
All right.
And they kind of, make it a little bit faster because, you need to dance to it. And so it's kind of a lighter, airier version of the song. With cool, electronica dispersed in there. I'll jump to the start. I'll jump ahead to the Forever Young part.
Okay. See, I don't know. I feel like this song's stock in trade is that moodiness.
Well, certainly the version we know. Yeah. I'll be interested to know if. Let me let it finish. I guess. You really want to live forever? And so it still has that, but it is quite a different sounding tune. I'd be interested to know if our resident dance club expert, Denny, probably danced to this version of the song, because the other one is more of a slow song,
it's really more of a make out on the dance floor kind of vibe.
Yeah, that's right. So
sorry. I assume people made out on the dance floor. I couldn't see from the stage where I was if people were making out.
That's true. You would still have been in high school for this. So yeah. Who DJ'd the dances after I left, I wonder?
I don't know. Maybe Todd Tesner, but I'm not sure.
That sounds right. Okay.
He could have, definitely.
And then the other thing I was going to touch on in the terms of the legacy of this song is the ultra famous Jay-Z did a song called Young Forever.
I see what he did there.
With Jay-Z and a guy named Mr. Hudson. Where Mr. Hudson essentially reproduces the hook.
Let's dance in style, let's dance for a while. Heaven can wait, we're only watching the sky.
It's a relatively faithful reproduction of it. And then in between, Jay-Z will,
Let us die young or let us live forever. We don't have the power, but we never say never. Sitting in a sandpit, life is a short trip. The music's for the sad man.
Anyway, so there's also a
video where the sun is always out and you never.
So Jay-Z does this stuff, and then
the music's always good, and the pretty girls just happen to stop by in the hood, and they have they pretty ass. So when the director yells cut, I'll be fine. I'm forever young.
So it's kind of like that deal where Mr. Hudson keeps coming back and plays the. So I don't know if you'd ever heard this one, but this was a relatively massive kind of hit for Jay-Z.
I have. There are a couple of Jay-Z songs that wafted past my consciousness, but this was not one of them.
Okay, but anyway, yeah. So obviously that owes a lot. Well, in the whole thing to the original. And other than the rap stuff that Jay-Z added, which it's actually pretty decent, but I just didn't know if you or our listeners knew it existed, so I thought I'd throw it out there. But meanwhile, let's get right back to this actual song. And it's been a minute since we played this one, so kind of a refresher. We start off with this kind of beautiful synthy opening, right?
I love this opening so much. It just sets such a mood.
Right.
Let's dance in style, let's dance for a while. Heaven can wait, we're only watching the skies. Hoping for the best, but expecting the worst.
So one of the things I learned about is this guy, the lead singer, is not a native English speaker, right?
Yes, Marion Gold.
Yeah, so Gold got pronunciation instruction from a producer, and they were like, hey, let's try to make it sound British by saying not dance, but say dance. Like let's dance, and we'll make it sound like you're kind of British sounding. And then, but then he just kind of says, he does both. Like he says dance and dance. So, they kept trying to get him to say it Britishly, and
both
then
times.
And he was not very good at hitting it, I guess. But anyway, all right. So you're kind of new to this song. What do you want to jump out and say off the bat about this tune?
Well, one thing that I'm always fascinated with is critical reception to these songs from the time, and I saw that Billboard magazine called this song the modern rock equivalent to Stairway to Heaven.
Whoa!
And I'm like, I guess that's a pretty big compliment.
Yeah, that's like saying they're the Beatles of the '80s, right? I mean, Led Zeppelin's.
Look, Alphaville is no Kajagoogoo.
Right. Kajagoogoo. Will they be the Beatles of the 80s? Let's find out. Anyway, these guys.
Marv was a hairdresser. You could go back to that.
That's right. So yeah, I'd say that's a huge compliment.
Absolutely.
You know, Zeppelin and especially Stairway is largely considered one of the greatest rock songs of all time, I think. So
there you go.
Saying that this was a modern equivalent of that is...
Or maybe the guy was just like, yeah, it's super over dramatic. I don't know. But I assume it was meant as a huge compliment.
I hope so.
One thing that Marion Gold's vocals on the very beginning of this song, that first line where he's saying dance and dance and dance and dance.
Yeah.
It has and help me out. What effects are laid down on that?
Oh, in terms of there's like a looping echo effect in there to give the whole thing more volume. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because it seems to me thickness. It's kind of like the audio equivalent of Elizabeth Taylor in her White Diamonds commercials. It's kind of like they're smearing Vaseline on the lens, so to speak. I'm not saying not saying it's an insult, but it's just like it changes his voice a lot.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's vocal processing on this. They're not retuning his voice, as far as I can tell.
Right.
But it's an echo effect that gives it a space to it, like a certain sound. It's not a flange, but it's I believe it's called a loop echo.
Let's dance in style, let's dance for a while.
But it definitely gives it presence and it gives it a largeness, you know?
Yeah.
It's not quite jacked up to the effect that you would get in like Asia, Heat of the Moment, where that's like the archetype of that of that vocal processing that I'm talking about, but this is a fluffier kind of echo. It has like a cloud like feel to it to me, you know, like it's super
and it works. It really works for the mood they're setting here.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I hope I didn't. I wasn't like trying to put it down. I'm saying it really works for here, but it's noticeable, I guess.
Oh yeah. Like some of the ones I have to point out, like, hey, listen to this, you know, in the background or whatever.
Yeah.
This one, I think most listeners realize that there was some kind of...
wait, we're only watching the skies, hoping for the best,
you know, it's not like
expecting the worst.
Such a full echo that you can hear it bounce back to you or anything, but it's... really cool. And speaking of... the processing, I've got this great quote from Gold, who said, this is a direct quote, none of us could really play an instrument. The music was in our heads, but we were dependent on synthesizers and drum machines and things like that. The equipment we had at that time was basically toys, the cheapest monophonic synthesizers you could imagine. We had a little studio in a basement. We made a couple of demos and sent them to some record companies to try to get a deal. We didn't have much hope, but then we got 3 offers, and from that moment on, everything happened very fast. So the one interview I saw, they talk about how, like, and I put it in the region preview, they sold this song based on one verse and a chorus.
Yeah.
You know, they did a demo of one verse and a chorus, and then it's like they ran out of highway. There was no rest of the song, but playing that amount for them, the amount that we played for you guys today, got them a record deal, basically.
And you can hear why.
Yeah, it's incredible. And no offense to Big in Japan and Sounds Like a Melody, but 1/3 of those were not going to get them the record deal, I don't think. You know what
true.
I mean?
That's true.
And this is their biggest hit, I think, for a reason. And I don't want to diss these guys at all, but yeah, it sounded like they were just like, we got this sound in our head and we don't play anything and we don't know how to get it out. And they bought a synth and like managed to figure out something that sounded like what was in their head. But because of this, they never toured. Because they were like, we're not really performers. We're studio rats. And like, we fuck with stuff until it sounds right and then release it. But I don't know if we could even do it in front of people, which I thought was kind of interesting. Maybe that changed later on. I don't know if they ever ended up touring Maybe some of our listeners can say for sure if they've seen them tour. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Kind of the first act that we've had in here that doesn't ever play live, like.
Well, I mean, that makes sense. It would not be a very compelling show. They just kind of stand there.
Yeah, I mean, that obviously they could sing live, but all the stuff, they would just have to play a backing track and sing to it.
Right.
I guess, which they thought, at least at the time in the 80s, would be technically prohibitive. Might be a difficult thing to set up and get right, I guess. So, now, did you watch the video for this one?
I did. I didn't understand the video, but I watched the video for this.
Yeah, and the video is a little older looking because I think it came from 84.
Right.
And do you want to try to describe the video? You're usually pretty good
Absolutely,
at this.
Yeah. All right. So it starts off. We're in space. There's stars, and then there's a diamond-shaped kind of portal, and then we fly through it, and then after that we're in a cathedral.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of people sleeping on the floor amidst furniture that's draped in white tarps, and then the people start to wake up. They're being sung to, and so they wake up, and they've got interesting. I mean, at first I thought it was like Victorian era clothing, but it just kind of odd clothing. Some of it's a little worn out. One dude with a weird mustache looks like he has a potato sack on his head.
Yeah,
I didn't get him at fucking all. And so they wake up, and then there's a trio of musicians in jumpsuits singing and playing pianos.
Yeah, right. Orange jumpsuit for the middle one there.
Right.
And incredible hair, first of all.
Yeah.
And they very much look of the 80s. And the other folks very much don't look of the 80s, right?
Right.
And the folks are a range of varying ages.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids, couple old folks.
And near the end of these, of Alphaville regaling these people with the song, people start stepping in back out of the portal, I guess, into light.
Because on our plane, the portal is glowing now, and so they step into this glowing diamond.
Which might be eternal life, which will keep them forever young, maybe?
Maybe.
Possibly could be what they were going for.
Maybe they're just marching to their deaths. Who
knows? So I thought...
These Pied Pipers have led them to the grave.
I thought Alphaville looked a little awkward in their pretending performance bit.
Yeah, definitely.
And it might be because the thing I said earlier, they don't perform. So they were kind of like, what do we do? You stand by that keyboard. I don't know.
Yeah, just kind of flop your hands up and down a little bit.
Yeah. So we'll link to that video. Again, you can look at the weird guy with the potato sack on his head. You can try to figure out the symbolism of what's going on here. That would be great. Joe, you've got a needle drop you wanted to hit, right?
I just wanted to point out that the last note that Marion Gold hits here is pretty impressive.
All right. Well, I'll start us a little early at my needle drop, which was like a piano interlude, and it's going to run right up into his part. And then we can let people kind of hear the back end of this song a little bit.
Forever young, I want to be forever young. Do you really want to live forever? Forever, forever.
All right, I feel like I missed it. But here comes yours. Woo! And then all of the synth in the world here.
That's right, because that diamond-shaped portal was filled with synth.
So, and that goes on for another 30 seconds or so, but that gives you a feel of how the end of the song goes.
Yeah.
So, Joe, do you have anything else for Forever Young?
No, the mustachioed potato sack guy was my last bit, so I'm all done.
All right. Well, I'm going to hand over for a final argument for Forever Young to a guy I met the next month. I met Jennifer in 1986 in May, and then actually in July. So, a couple months later, I met my friend John Booth at camp, and we're still great friends. And this is his favorite song. And so I checked in with him, and he was like, of course, I'll talk about that for a couple minutes. And so here's what we've got from John Booth.
In the fall of 1989, I was a freshman at Bowling Green State University, and this song, Forever Young, just grabbed my guts and my heart and squished them to a wrenching pulp, while still somehow filling me with wonder and hope and possibility every time Marian Gold's voice reached up for that final yearning verse about adventures missed and songs forgotten. And I kept listening to this song all through college, and then through a terrible relationship, and then through a move to Florida while in said relationship. And then, a little bit after that unfortunate episode had come to its end, I met this girl, Jen. And I played it for her, and we kissed for the first time. And then a couple years later, we got married, and we stayed that way. And I mean, that alone would be an excellent reason for this to be my favorite song of all time. But why do I love this song so much? I mean, it's 80s synth pop. It is melancholic, and it is dreamy, and its swells run deep, and it's everything I've always loved about a particular style and sound of music. But also, while Forever Young has never changed, I have. I was 18 when I first fell in love with this song, and I am 54 now. And that is 36 years of listening to Forever Young on summer nights on back porches, and mornings on the way to work, and after second shift jobs when most of the world was quiet. I listened to this song while I was driving home from college, when my hometown roads seemed suddenly small and narrow, and I listened during those dark times in Florida when I was far away from everyone who knew me best. And I've listened on the interstates when Jen and our daughter Kelsey slept during overnight road trips. And I've listened to it on the way to and from visiting Kelsey in New York City, where she lives now. I love the beautiful impossibility of the song's chorus, and I think how I really do hope to actually get to be old. And I think of people I knew who died young. And Forever Young never hits the same as the years pass, but the me of this moment loves it just as much as the me of all those other moments. And at this point, I'm pretty sure tomorrow me will too.
So are you getting the feeling that John and Jenny should have this podcast and not us? Are you gonna...
I was just like, damn, John.
I mean, he is a writer,
right.
okay, but yeah, okay, John, great job. No, that was really good.
Yeah,
man.
thanks, John, for making us look so lame.
We look so shitty. Anyway. But it's great that we have smart and thoughtful friends who can drop these, experiences in here. It's why we're doing the show, like, to take you back, right?
That's right.
And if you want to be a person that does one of these, you can message Joe or me, and we'd be happy to include yours in a future show. You guys know what the bracket is, so look ahead.
Yep.
And in the second round, if we've already done one of the songs you like, we'll play your thing in the second round if it advances. And but anyway, so there you go, Joe. That's Forever Young, and this is it, dude. And at this moment, I don't know who I'm voting for, and it's a 4 though. It's an even seed as the favorite. And Unfortunately for you, that puts you as the guy that's got to go first on this show.
Ugh.
And what do you say, man? You can't do what I did at confirmation and lean into the mic and say, pass. No, I did that. I said, pass? Yeah, that was more like it. There you go. So you can't pass. If you have to, record needle to your head.
All right.
Pick one of these. So, who's it going to be, pal? And give me what you got.
Let me millionaire it here. It. Okay. So Forever Young is super 80s.
Yeah.
That synth, that sound, the drama, the Germanity of it all. It's pretty fucking 80s.
Yeah.
And and maybe Never Tear Us Apart is more straight rock than synth pop, and so maybe it should be less 80s.
Yeah.
But we got the sax. We do have lots of synth.
Yeah, there is.
We've got and well, you know what? I mean, I guess on this one, for me, it comes down to experiential, and Never Tear Us Apart was a huge part of my 80s, and Alphaville was not.
Yeah.
So my vote goes for NXS and Forever Young.
You voted for both. For NXS and Forever Young, you said?
Oh, sorry, and Never Tear Us Apart.
Oh, okay.
I want to vote for both of them. Sorry, but for NXS,
you're voting
Never Tear Us Apart.
NXS. All right,
that's it.
That's where you're going. And it is a razor thin margin for me, Joe. I mean, it's fucking razor thin. And the thing is, I'm letting decide. I had more years inside the 80s listening to Never Tear Us Apart, and I had the album. And I guess I'm going with you on this one. I think before the show, I was Team Forever Young. I think I like Forever Young more. I love that song. But in terms of the 80s-ness experience that I had, I'm going Never Tear Us Apart in a surprise reversal of my original thought. And there we go. Wow. Joe, well, we went a little long on this one, but it was a tough one.
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. If you have a vote, either way, why don't you go ahead and let us know on our Substack, which is the80sest.substack.com. You can also find us floating around Facebook by searching for the 80sest podcast, because we're there as well.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you, even if it's for you to say, fuck you guys for making us choose in the first round between these two classics. And anyway, we'd love to have you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify, where our playlists live. Just search for the 80s-est. And by now, you've probably liked and subscribed, but if you're new, give us a like and subscribe. Keep the blood flowing through this podcast. Anyway, that's going to be all we have for today's show. We thank you for listening to the 80sist. It means a lot to us. Yep. And join us next time on the show when we will reveal our next matchup in the Foreigners.
Still without Foreigner.
Region. And that's going to be, thank you, Joseph. That's going to be 6 seed Your Love by the Outfield against 11 seed The Promise by Win in Rome. Again, I think this is going to be one that people are pissed off about having to choose the first round. We'll find out. But until that time, on behalf of Joe Wack, this has been Keith Marsteller saying, Joe, you know, at the risk of being a little too deep here, have you ever considered that maybe you, me, this entire podcast, our listeners, that none of it's real?
What, like we're in the Matrix or something?
Kind of. Like, what if this show and all its massive success and its hosts and its lovable listeners and its characters were all just a dream going on in someone's head?
Whose head?
I don't know, but it must be someone who likes me because I'm really fucking cool in this existence, you know?
That's a good point. I mean, maybe the 80s-est is happening inside the brain of our friend Steve Bevilacqua in a study hall in Berlin Center in 1988. Man, I wish he would have imagined me with more abs, though. I mean, he imagined you just the right amount of knowledge of musical theater, 0.
Ha! Okay, so wait, I like this. But in this proposed scenario, Keith and Joe are real people who exist outside of this dream. But in the dream, these versions of us, the ones talking right now, are imaginary middle-aged podcasters who get all nostalgic over the decade. Is that?
Oh, wait. I think we know what's happening is that we are both real. The show is real, but you're trying to write a show ending that ties into St. Elsewhere by stealing the premise of the final episode of that show.
Okay, maybe. But maybe Mr. Topoleski wakes Steve up and this podcast blinks out of existence. No, man, I'm just fucking with you, man. It's the St. Elsewhere thing. You totally, absolutely nailed it. Yeah.
Wow, I finally figured out these endings, which is, I don't know, great. I was hoping to listen to another 2-hour theme song.
Well, I've got you covered then. As you wish, my friend. 2-hour theme song coming up next. You remember this one? Yeah. And end it right there. Nope. That's a long one.
One show that could hold Howie Mandel, Ed Begley Jr., and Denzel Washington.
Incredible, yeah. The ensemble is mind-boggling when you go back and look at it. It's
no.
You were a viewer of this show back in the day?
I was a viewer. The finale, one of the great finales of all time, where the whole thing was took place inside a snow globe. Held by an autistic kid.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Which is what this podcast might be also, but we'll find out.
No.
All right, man. Well, thank you for playing along, and good night, everybody.
Take care.